Hey everyone, my name is Angelina in Atlanta, and I have a video for you today that I have entitled How I Got Pregnant After 40, 13 Things I Did to Have a Baby at 43. So just to give you a brief background before I get into those 13 things, I am 45 years old. I have a 2-year-old son. And so I was able to, after some troubles, successfully get pregnant at 42 and have my son at 43. So I know that when I was in the process of trying to figure out how to have a baby naturally if possible, I searched through YouTube and blogs and all sorts of stuff looking for advice on this topic because I felt kind of desperate to want to try to figure it out. And I felt like there were very few videos from women over 40. And every time I came across one, I felt super encouraged when I watched it or when I read somebody's story. So I feel like now that I'm in a position to share my own information, I'm just thrilled to be able to discuss this with you now that I'm on the other end of it and I was able to have my baby and he's healthy and everything is great. And I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to have become a mom because I didn't think it was going to happen. So anyway, just giving you a quick little brief history, and I'm looking down because I've got a ton of notes about this. So I got pregnant naturally at 40 years old. Before that, I was not a person who was interested in having a kid when I was younger, married in my 20s, then I was single through my 30s. And by the time I got married again, in my early 40s, I had changed my mind and I did want a kid, but I worried that it was too late. And all of that time, all of my adulthood, I never got pregnant, and I don't feel like I was trying that hard to prevent it. So I kind of took that to mean that I was someone who probably was not a fertile person. So I kind of thought, well, it's okay. I don't want to have a kid anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it. Well, then later when I was older, I felt like, okay, I'm not fertile anyway, and I'm over 40 now, like the ship has sailed, and it's not going to happen for me. So I did feel somewhat hopeless. So the first thing I did when I was hoping to get pregnant, and I was 40 at the time, is I started to track my cycle on the Fertility Friend app. That was the first thing I did. That's it. I just started tracking it. I had a long cycle. It wasn't super regular. I think it was like 35 days or longer. And then when I did have the fertile window, when it showed when my fertile window probably was, I would just try to have sex with my husband. That was it. And I actually did get pregnant at 40. That was in 2016. And I just got pregnant just purely from having sex during that time. And I was stunned and excited. It was awesome. And then what happened is that pregnancy progressed and I went to see the doctor and did the early checkups. And when I went for that all important 12-week appointment, I found out that the baby had passed away at about the 9-week mark. So they called what I had a missed miscarriage. So I ended up having to have a D&C procedure to remove the baby who had passed away. It was super sad. I mean, it was an awful thing to go through, but I think it was a little on the fence about having kids most of my life. But up to that point that I had the miscarriage, I think it really crystallized for me that is something I wanted. And then I felt just absolutely determined to have a child after losing that little baby. And that kind of set me off on this journey of, like many women before me and many women after me, of just trying to figure out what I could possibly do to make having a baby a reality. In my particular situation, it didn't make sense for me to go the fertility specialist route, and I could save that for another video for another day, but I was not in a position where it made sense for me to do IUI or IVF. And so I knew that if it was going to happen, it was probably going to happen naturally, or I was going to have to let that dream die, or as close to naturally as possible. I just decided to take a shotgun approach. I was like, I have all these little things. There's all these little possibilities of what might work to get pregnant. I'm not going to just try one at a time. I don't have time to do that. So I'm just going to like scattershot, multiple little things and see if anything sticks, if anything is the thing that helps to get me pregnant. I will include information and links about all 13 of them in the comments. So you're welcome to go down there and you can see the things that I used and I'll just provide everything I can to help you with that. The first thing I did was I read and listened to everything I could get my hands on relating to fertility. I specifically pulled these out. I got this book, Taking Charge of Your Fertility. And this book, I took the cover off of it because I stained it, but it is called, this is a pretty well-known one called Making Babies. I did not read them cover to cover. I just read bits and pieces that seemed like they were applicable to me just for my own knowledge, and just read so I could have a better understanding of my body, things like that. There is a website called Natural Fertility Info, and I really heavily leaned on, I am a big fan of that website. I heavily leaned on the information I learned from that website and some of their products, which I'll tell you about, when I was, trying to get into this fertile mode to be able to have a baby. Number two is I continued to track my period using the Fertility Friend ovulation app. So I would have a rough idea each month of what my fertile window was. And the funny thing is, not only was I older and my husband and I were not completely on the same page about having a baby, but also he traveled a lot for work. I remember so many months past that he wasn't even at the house during my fertile window. So there was like no way to make it happen. And I remember feeling, pretty discouraged about that, but I didn't give up on it. The third thing that I did is that I tried Clomid. And now I know you may be thinking, okay, Clomid is a fertility drug that is not natural. So you didn't have a child naturally, or, why would you even list any other things on this list? Because if you took Clomid, that's the thing that did it. But I don't even necessarily know that it was Clomid that helped me to get pregnant, because of the fact that I did get pregnant before when I was in my 40s. I do know that I was obviously ovulating on my own, or I wouldn't have been able to get pregnant that first time. So taking Clomid was a little bit of a shot in the dark. I did try it. I tried to line it up with the instructions of how you're supposed to use it, and I only took it, I just did one month's worth. And looking back on it afterwards, I realized I didn't even take it on the correct days. You have to take it on the certain, it's like days 3 through 7 or 5 through 9 or something like that of your cycle. And I didn't. I think I took it off by a couple days. I was like, hey, what would it hurt just to add that into the mix? So I did do that around Christmas time of 2017. And I only used it for that 1 month, and obviously it worked. So I normally I kind of try to stick with doing natural type fixes, but at this point I was willing to at least try. I said to myself, look, I'll try these 3 months, but that's it. I'm not going to go out of my way to get more of it or continue taking it after that. So I just thought I would give it a shot, and it worked. Number 4 is I added a variety of supplements to my diet that were specifically known to promote fertility. And I learned a lot about that from Natural Fertility Info. Sorry, I've got a cat meowing in the background. And then I actually still have my Clomid from back then. So I'm trying to like visually show you everything I have to show you. Oh, it's kind of bright, but you can see if you look right there. Yep, that's the Clomid. Sorry if that's not in focus. And then the 4th thing was taking the vitamins. So I started taking a prenatal vitamins. Now I took a brand called Deva Vegan. It wasn't this particular brand. I ended up taking these later when I was pregnant, but I took this vegan brand, and I thought it worked really well. I will put a link to it. I also used Geritol, because apparently Geritol is like a vitamin supplement for senior citizens, but apparently it's some kind of like, I don't know, like folklore legend of people trying to get pregnant, that if they specifically used Geritol vitamins versus just regular multivitamins, it would somehow help them get pregnant. So just on the possibility that was even a thing, I went ahead and ordered Geritol vitamins, and I would sort of take those interchangeably with the Deva vegan brand of multivitamins. I also used a supplement called Vitex Fruit, which I learned about I still have this bottle from back in the day. I learned about from the Natural Fertility Info website. So I used that. And I used maca powder, which I took in the form of, I had capsules for that. I don't think I have that anymore. And I also used this royal jelly. It's actually like a honey. I think it's called royal jelly. And it's this really dark, natural, raw honey that comes in this little container. I'll have it linked below. And I just took a tablespoon of that every day. And so that's something some people sort of swore by that. It was another one of those, like, I don't know, urban legend, like use this stuff and you'll get pregnant. I also got, let me see. So that natural fertility info website, they had, I have this right here. They have this thing called the 21-day fertility diet challenge. They actually have a lot of information on their website and also a lot of products. And I just thought, I mean, I think I got my vitamins, most of them separately from other places, but I did purchase this 21-day fertility diet challenge. I just printed it out for my own sake. And it basically is just a bunch of recipes involving vegetables and smoothies and supplements and just really good healthy stuff that is supposed to help your body get into like a state of preparation for getting pregnant. And I did somewhat use it. I mean, I will say about all of these things that I did not do any of them like, they were pretty random. Like I said, I didn't always follow the diet. I didn't really lose weight. I mean, I was going to try to lose weight because that's supposed to be a huge way to help you to get pregnant if you are overweight. But I didn't really lose weight during the process at all. I think I pretty much just maintained my weight. So I did that somewhat. I had some smoothies. I took the supplements. I was probably pretty religious about the supplements, but everything else was pretty random. So I'll just mention that I didn't do anything perfectly the whole time. Even the way I took Clomid was technically wrong. I just was trying to throw in as much stuff in there as I could and hope that something would work. So I did the 21-day fertility diet challenge ebook. I never really did the challenge. I just tried to use some of the recipes. Also on that same website I keep mentioning, they had this thing called a fertility cleanse kit, and they had a male fertility cleanse kit. And I can't remember how much they cost, but it was a decent amount. Like I'm going to say maybe 80 or $100 for each of the kits. And they came with these different vitamins that you needed to take in these different teas you're supposed to drink at certain times. The only thing I have left over from those kits that were now like 3 years ago that I ordered is I happen to have this. So the brand is called Fertilica. And this is one of the conceptions tea that was just part of it. So my husband, although he was not really stoked about having a baby at the time, he is really into our kid now. He really, really loves him. But at the time he wasn't that, he was on the fence about it. But for whatever reason, he agreed to use the male fertility cleanse kit. So I ordered it to him and even mailed it because he was out of town working, and he used his supplements. I used mine. We drank our teas. We did our thing. So the fertility diet challenge ebook, that was my number 5. Number 6 was using the fertility cleanse kit and having my husband use the male fertility cleanse kit. Then number 7 is I used castor oil packs and did self-fertility massage. That was another thing I ran across as I was doing my research into different fertility methods. And I used all my stuff up at the time, but I just happened to have rebought this because I want to do another castor oil pack sometime soon for the purpose of detoxing. Like you can supposedly detox your organs like your liver by doing castor oil packs and doing this self massage. That you can totally Google this. I don't remember exactly how I did it before because it's been a while, so I don't want to try to instruct you on that, but there's a ton of stuff online, like YouTube videos. So, but at any rate, castor oil looks something like that. There's different brands. I think I bought this at Sprouts, if that's a grocery store that you have. So that's what the castor oil looks like. And then the castor oil pack, as they call it, is just this, it's called wool flannel. You basically take this wool flannel product and you soak it in castor oil, and then you put it over a certain part of your stomach. If for fertility, it's putting it over the reproductive organs. If it's a liver cleanse, you're putting it in that place. And I think you're basically just like kind of lounging on the sofa, putting that, I believe you put some kind of heat over it, like a heating pad or something if you have it, and then you do like a massage in a certain direction. And I just did that, every once in a while. I probably did it like, I don't know, like a half a dozen times or something. Just added it into the mix just in case it worked. And number 8 is I did acupuncture for fertility. I saw there were some acupuncturists who were trying to get pregnant in their 40s who had made YouTube videos, and of course they swore by acupuncture. And I had used acupuncture in the past when I had some major back issues and just some major pain in my back that was like debilitating, and some sciatica issues when I was younger. So I know that it had been like a magical thing. Like I literally went for acupuncture once or twice, and this crazy pain in my back and sciatica just went away. And so I thought, hey, why not? So that wasn't super cheap, but I did go to a few sessions. I didn't go to as many as they thought that I should, but I did that. And I also, in conjunction with that, and this is my number 9, I hesitate to even add this as a number, but my number 9 thing that I did to help me to get pregnant was that I used this Korean herbal concoction that's known for fertility, and it's known for, I mean, it's known for doing a lot of things, but it's called Hanyak or Hanyak. I'm probably like butchering the name. And Korean people will probably be laughing if they hear this, because that is just apparently in Korea growing up, or if you have Korean parents, they are going to force this stuff on you anytime you think you're getting sick, or even when you're not sick. Apparently it's just this, I can't even describe how awful and heinous it is, but it's this dark liquid. It looks like, I guess, like soy sauce, I would say, or like completely flat Coke or completely flat soda. It's the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life. The worst. Nothing even comes close to it. But apparently they mix up these concoctions, acupuncturists and herbalists, where according to whatever your issue is. So for fertility, they're putting certain things in, and the stuff they put in Hanyak, I mean, you don't even want to know. It's like animal parts, and it sounds like something out of, I don't know, some movie about witches and cauldrons. It's just like Eye of Newt. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I remember I paid $500 for a 1-month supply of Hanyak, and I think they wanted me to do it for 2 or 3 months in a row. I paid $500. I put it in my fridge and then eventually my freezer. I think I was able to consume, so I got 1 packet for every day. It's like this packet of this black liquid. You heat it up in water and then you're supposed to drink it. I think I might have total had 1 to 2 packs of the 30 packs I paid $500 for, because I don't mean to be TMI here, but it was literally, it was the worst thing I've ever tasted. I mean, I'm not talking about the taste of licorice if you hate licorice. I'm not talking about the taste of liver and onions. Like nothing can touch this stuff. It was so bad that I think the first time I just barely got through some of it. The second time I drank it, I tried to just quickly drink it and be done with it, and I immediately threw it back up into the cup I was drinking it out of. And I think after that day, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'll come back to this. I'll freeze it so I don't feel like I'm losing that $500, and I'll come back to this later. I never came back to it. I just couldn't. And I will honestly say, I consider myself to be a pretty tough person. I'm not a wimp. I'm really not. But I could not. I don't know how little Korean children are being forced to drink that stuff, because I couldn't do it. So I did put that as my number 9, but I hesitate to even say that since I barely used it. Okay, the number 10, this is a simple one. I used Conceive Plus lubricant. I have it right here, but you can't really, it's like too bright for you to see. Yeah, I'll just link that since you can't really see the writing, but it says Conceive Plus in pink letters. This is just some lubricant. This is another one that people just raved about, that apparently if you use it in the process of having sex, it's just supposed to really help to carry the sperm up to the egg to make the whole process easier if you're having any issues with that kind of thing, which I didn't think I was. I mean, who knows? But just on the possibility that it made things better, I did start trying to have that on hand. So whenever we did have sex, I just tried to use it to make things, flow along a little smoother. That's a really popular one. I think I saw that in like every video I watched about fertility. Everybody talked about it. So who knows if it helped or not. Okay, the number 11, we're getting down to the end here because I've got 13 things that I did to help me get pregnant. Number 11 is that I worked at the nursery at church. So this sounds a little bit weird, but it sounds like I was being altruistic, but I was in a small group with some women, and one of them ran the nursery at our church. And I had not volunteered previously in any positions at our church, but she encouraged me to work there because she knew I wanted to have a kid. And she's like, hey, you'll at least get some familiarity with babies. And I thought, man, that's a really good idea. So I actually kind of did it in a very selfish way, to be honest. I mean, I know I was helping people out, but I didn't know anything about kids. I mean, growing up, I only had an older brother, no younger siblings, and I babysat a lot of kids growing up, but they were always kids that were pretty close to my age. I never dealt with babies or toddlers ever. And I never really hung around when my friends were having kids. I had moved away to a new area, and then I had friends who waited till much later, like me, to have kids, or just never had kids, period. So it never ended up that I was ever around any little kids. Even when my brother had my niece and nephew, he was living in Atlanta and I was living in Washington, D.C. And I pretty much missed that part of their childhood, except when I came home for the holidays. So I had no experience. So anyway, I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to learn about how to take care of babies. And I did it I think I did it for maybe 9 months or so. And by the time I had stopped, I think I stopped when I was about 6 months pregnant. So I think it only took three. I mean, it was all sort of happening at the same time. But 9 or 10 months I did it. I didn't necessarily enjoy it because it was like such a sharp learning curve for me. And I've never been like, I don't know, I've never been much of a kid person. So it was hard, and the sound of babies crying made me a little bit nervous because I just wasn't that used to it. But I learned a lot about babies, and I also feel like, it did make me, I feel like it kind of activated that motherly instinct in me. And I did start to really enjoy it and start to feel like I knew my way around a baby and changing diapers and tummy time and stuff like that I knew nothing about. And then I also feel that, there's something to be said from like a biological or chemical perspective. There's something to be said for being around other women's pheromones and hormones. Sorry, I've got a little cat in the background. There's something to be said for being around that women who are pregnant or have recently given birth, have new babies. I think that may have some impact, on your own pheromones or hormones. I mean, some people might not give that much scientific weight, but I think it could make a difference. So I think being in that environment was really helpful, and that could have been instrumental in myself getting pregnant. All right, number 12, and I saved this one for towards the end in case it sounded a little bit too crunchy granola or something, or too new agey for people. The 12th thing I did is I used the law of attraction to help me to get pregnant. I listened to a lot of Esther Hicks. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's great. I mean, not everyone is into that, but I really wholeheartedly embraced it. And another thing I did in conjunction with law of attraction, which is just more or less like, the idea that you attract to you the things that you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on negative stuff, like always complaining about things going wrong, things will continue to go wrong. And on the other end of that, if you're focusing on something you want, like if you have your eyes on the prize and you're thinking about it and have just a sort of a positive vision of things, it's more likely that it'll happen. That's more or less the whole idea of the law of attraction. So I listened to Esther Hicks, and God knows I prayed. I am a Christian, whether you are or not. That's personal preference, but I prayed to God on the regular to help me. That's actually number 13, the prayer. So I'm getting ahead of myself. But at any rate, with the law of attraction, two things I did, which I think people might think are a little bit strange, but I'll just put them out there. Is one thing I did is about 3 months or something after losing the baby. It was fall of 2016, and I was still getting over it mentally. And I went into a Marshall shopping one day, and I saw this little, I've got it right here. So this little sleep sack. This is like a 6 to 9 month old sleep sack, I think. I saw this thing and I just thought, oh my God, it was just adorable. And I thought, God, what a weirdo I am for picking this up and putting it in my cart. I mean, as a woman who had lost a baby and was not pregnant and had no kids, I know that's a little weird and creepy, but I picked it up and put it in my cart, and I just decided I'm gonna buy this, and I'm gonna take it home and put it up on the wall because my little kid is gonna wear this someday. And it's kind of interesting that I did get, it's like a little blue owl because I did end up having a boy. But I bought it and I felt a little weird about it, but I said, hey, I'm buying this for my son for the future, and when I did have him and when he reached, got into the 6 to 9 month category, you better believe I put him in that little sleep sack because it was really cool to be able to do that. It was awesome. So it may have felt like a weird thing at first, but I'm glad I did it. And another thing I did, I was in Hobby Lobby shopping one day, and that's like one of those craft type stores. And they have this huge section of scrapbooking stuff, like these little, I don't know anything about scrapbooking, but they have all these little stickers and things that you put on your little scrapbook pages where you're putting your family photos and stuff, I guess. So I saw these stickers, I just stuck them on this folder so I could show them to you. But I came across these stickers. I'll see if they show up in the camera. You can see them. Obviously, it's for someone to show in their scrapbook when they get pregnant. It says, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and then it shows the date. I'm trying to read it, the due date. Okay, so obviously this is meant for someone who, they're adorable. I love it that they're glittery. It's meant for someone to be scrapbooking through their process of being pregnant and having a baby. And I'm not really into that stuff. Quite frankly, I don't know that I'm that wholesome of a person, but I bought it because I just felt like, I don't know, it felt like a sign, like I'm gonna hang on to this thing because this is gonna be something that, it was just in that law of attraction vein, just like buying that little sleep sack of like, I'm a part of this world. I'm gonna have a baby, this is gonna happen for me. And so I did buy it, and it's not like I don't scrapbook. I never used it for scrapbooking. Like I'm showing you, I literally taped it to this notebook just to be able to show it to you in this video, so I didn't have to hold them up individually. But I kept it in its plastic packaging for months and months. And then finally, one day in the fall or early winter of 2017, I took it out of the package, and I took these four, and I took the adhesive part off the back. I peeled it off, and I just stuck them to this cork board, like a vision board that I had in front of my desk in my house, and like my office in the house. And I just said, okay, let's do this. I'm ready. And I will tell you, it was probably within 4 weeks, 6 weeks of me taking these little things out of their package and putting it on my cork board that I got a positive pregnancy test. So I don't know. Make of that what you will, but I put a lot of stock into that kind of thing. You may think it's nuts, and that's fine. That's understandable. The 13th thing is I prayed. I know I went into that with the law of attraction, but I did pray a lot when I was at church, and just when I would be in the shower reflecting on things, or laying in bed at night, I just prayed for God to give me the opportunity. And sure enough, in the I think it was around Christmas time of 2017, I got pregnant and found out in early January, and then had my baby, a healthy 8.1 pound boy, in September of 2018. And it was just amazing. The pregnancy went pretty well. That's a whole nother story, but pregnancy went well. The birth was hard because I chose to do it naturally, with no drugs or anything, and it was challenging. It was tough, but it worked out in the end. The baby was completely healthy. I had my own challenges after having him. I did get eclampsia, which I think I'm going to save that for another video because that's actually a pretty interesting story. But ultimately, I recovered from that. He was always healthy. There was never anything wrong with him. He was great. And I have no regrets. And now here I am, 45 years old, 45 in a couple months. And I have a baby who is 2 years and a couple months because he was born around my birthday. And he is just a boisterous, crazy, funny, super sweet little toddler. He's just completely changed my life. It's hard to imagine my life before having this kid, because I feel like it must have been, it's like living in a black and white picture, and then you have this kid, and all of a sudden it's like Technicolor, every color of the rainbow, I can't even describe it. I was such a non-kid person, and I was such a selfish person, and having a kid it just completely changed me. I know it sounds really cliche to say it, but I feel like it is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but also the most rewarding thing. I know everyone says that, but it really is true. It really is hard. It's hard. But it also, you get to relive your childhood, and you get to see the world through a child's eyes, and you get to have these sweet, wonderful, loving moments. I can't even describe it. I hadn't experienced anything like it. and I had never experienced any love that was anything like that. Even though I love my parents and my brother, I love my husband, and I love my friends, I love God, but it was nothing is like this. It's different. So anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. This is just my list of 13 things I did to have a baby at 43. Like I said, I got pregnant at 42, gave birth at 43, and now I am a 45-year-old with a little 2-year-old. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write me. I would love to help you. I will do whatever I can to help you. I will link all the information below, like I said. And if you found this content helpful, please take a moment to like the video and to subscribe. I will be doing future videos relating to this topic and definitely a lot of other topics as well. So this is Angelina in Atlanta, and I am now going to let you go. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my video. What do you think, Booty? Do you like it?
Yes, sir.
What's that? You want to see what I'm looking at? Can you say hi, family? Hi, family. Oh, can you say plasma car? Plasma car? Oh, very nice. Is this your early birthday present? Your birthday? Yeah. Okay, nice.